The next story of the day is about, I guess, Adam Schiff, a congressman from California, Los Angeles, and Donald Trump. So they had a little back and forth where Donald Trump, like a 10-year-old, I don't know why he did this, but I guess it's kind of funny at this point. The world's so weird that it doesn't even faze me, but he called him Adam Shit, like spelled his name instead of FF, put TT. I don't know if that was a typo or he thought that was funny, but in the context of what he was saying, of course, what he said actually made complete sense, like it normally does. No one listens to him. He said, Adam Shit. I feel like I'm in kindergarten class saying this. It's ridiculous, but he says that Matthew Whitaker becoming the Attorney General isn't allowed because it wasn't voted into Senate. But then and I don't know if that's even true, but that's what they're trying to say. But then Trump said that the special Mueller council wasn't voted on Senate either, which I find is completely true. They didn't vote Mueller through Senate. They're not voting Whitaker through Senate. So, I mean, I guess it's a good comparison. Adam Schiff had a response to that. Overall, I mean, I think it's a little ridiculous, the nickname or whatever, but the content of what he's saying is true. I'm not sure if what he did with Whitaker is unconstitutional. Probably not if you fire an attorney general and a new one comes in. Sorry, someone keeps calling in. But overall, I do want to keep my eyes peeled on the Mueller investigation because I do think the whole way that they got that together. There's actually a good clip of Adam Schiff on Russian television. Before they demonized Russia, he appeared on Russia TV, or RT, and was explaining that the FISA courts were too easy, I believe. I got to watch the clip again, but I believe he was talking about how the FISA courts are too easy to get through. So he actually kind of agreed with what Republicans and conservatives were saying 2 years ago. That's my biggest beef with like modern day like people like Adam Schiff. And 2-3 years ago, you listen to Adam Schiff, he's totally like coherent. He makes total sense. He's absolutely on point, like acting normal, like Obama acted somewhat normal. Like a lot of people, all the Democrats used to act normal and say things that made sense, but now it's like they hate Jeff Sessions and he's a white supremacist until he gets fired, and now they're freaking out like, you can't fire him, we're gonna sue you for firing him. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like I don't know how long people are gonna play this game until they realize, wait a second, just because I don't like Trump's personality, I don't like his attitude, I don't like his character or whatever, doesn't mean you have to play opposite day for the rest of your life. So overall, I think Trump was totally right about that. The special Mueller council makes absolutely no sense to me, and the only reason people want to keep it together by a thread, even though they've shown no evidence for the Russia stuff and all their actual investigation has been a total flop to this point, it's like the narrative. They've created the narrative, they made it even though they have more dealings with Russia, and they worked literally with a foreign agent, Christopher Steele. They worked with a foreign British ex-spy to formulate this document that didn't even really have that much proof, used the media to cover it, and basically like circled their own little story and made it look like it was official to get all the justification to do this stuff. So it's like they kind of lied and misled to get justification to start the special counsel. It never made sense to begin with, and they collaborated with a foreign spy in hopes to find someone collaborating with foreign agents. And it's been 2 years. They haven't found anyone collaborating with the Russian government because they haven't used a mirror yet. All they have to do is put up a mirror and be like, there's the person who collaborated with a foreign agent. It was us, Christopher Steele. We worked literally with foreign governments. I mean, there's dozens of stories, whether it be, like taking in money from foreign people and others. They've worked with foreign people for a long, long time. And Trump does the opposite, so they flip reality. Anyway, I agree, but we'll see what happens with Matthew Whitaker. Of course, they're suing, but this isn't really a story because they sue every day. Every single day is like a lawsuit, a lawsuit, a lawsuit. They're selling this. Acosta's suing, he's suing, they're countersuing. It's one nation under lawyers, indivisible, with liberty and lawyers for all. The next story is about Trump and Jim Acosta. Hopefully I'll never have to talk about this again, but so Trump was planning to try to re-ban Jim Acosta, even though the federal judge lifted the ban, said it was unconstitutional, or I don't know. Somehow a judge decided that Jim Acosta was allowed back in the White House, so he did that. Trump was claiming to re-ban him, and then he just dropped it and was like, whatever, just let this guy in. To talk about this in a different way, because I've already talked about it a few times, I want to reference Dan Crenshaw. I believe he was on NBC, one of the liberal stations, but Dan Crenshaw is the guy with the eye patch who is in U.S. government now. It was like he was like a common sense voice, and he had like 5 crazy liberals like screaming at him and like blah blah blah. But there, he was like, okay, he was talking about the Acosta thing. So he's like, I just want to understand. Give me like how Trump is ruining democracy, because you keep saying that. He's like, you keep saying it broadly, like Trump's ruining democracy, Trump's ruining freedom. But he's like, I need an example, and then we'll go from the example. And as he's doing that, they're like screaming a bunch of examples, like freaking out. They're like, how does this guy not thing? So they brought up journalists and the Acosta thing. And what Dan Crenshaw said was the truth. He said Obama and a lot of left-leaning progressives like Glenn Greenwald and even Jimmy Dore, they know this as well. They have a far-left ideology, but at least they tell the truth about this. They say Obama, prosecuted more journalists than any U.S. president ever. And if you go into the reports of what it was like to be a journalist under Obama, it was not easy. First of all, I mean, there was a journalist from Los Angeles who his car blew up, and basically like Michael Hastings, he worked for BuzzFeed. He was talking about breaking a big story, and the next thing you know, his car explodes at like 4 a.m., going like 100 miles an hour and just explodes. So I'm not saying they did something there, but that was sketchy. But also it's on record, I believe, you can look it up, that he prosecuted more journalists. So Dan Crenshaw said that, as even left-leaning people know. And then they like moved on to something else, and then they were saying, well, Jim Acosta, he banned CNN, he banned a whole press company from the White House. And then Dan Crenshaw told the truth again. He was like, no, he didn't ban CNN, he banned Jim Acosta for his conduct. Anyone else could go to the White House. Other CNN people could get approved, just not Jim Acosta. So it's like everything that Dan Crenshaw told the truth about, they then lied about. It was like, well, he's doing this. Well, no, Obama did that. He's doing this. Well, no, he just banned Jim Acosta. So overall, I'm done talking about Jim Acosta. I think what he did was definitely rude. Now they need to make a whole set of rules because Jim Acosta doesn't want to give up the microphone because he thinks it's all about him and CNN. It's great activism. It's a great way to get the news and people like me to talk about you and put your name in the news. And I think that's what he wanted to accomplish. So overall, Trump backed down, probably the right move, but check out the Dan Crenshaw interview on CNN where he basically just owns them with truth, and they continuously spout lies and misconceptions that they then take and blast on NPR, NBC, CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, feature it on iPhones, and they blast it on Snapchat and Twitter and Facebook, and they constantly lie to people so much, disguised as social justice, that now the kids and people who don't pay attention that much, they're brainwashed beyond belief by mass media, feeding them the lie and the misconception 500 times in a row, like in huge big letters. And then when you tell the truth, they try to run you off the television. So thank you, Dan Crenshaw, for being a rare glimpse of light on these horrific networks who lie all the time. The last story